Hey everyone, today's lesson is lesson 37 and it is adding and subtracting decimal numbers. So again, just like yesterday, I mentioned that the slides that you see here in front of you are actually lessons 36 and 37 combined, and I've decided to separate those out and I did 36 yesterday, we're doing 37 today, just completely different topics, so they shouldn't have been combined in the first place. Let's take a look at the learning targets for today. It's add decimal numbers and subtract decimal numbers. This is the most important thing. I mean, if you take one thing away from this video today or away from math in general today, if you're working with adding or subtracting any decimal numbers, the one most important thing you need to know is right here. Line up your decimals. Now, that might feel a little bit confusing because all of the work you've done with decimals so far is actually multiplying decimals, in which that case you kind of don't worry about where the decimals are at all until the very end of a problem. But when you're working with adding or subtracting decimal numbers at any point in time, they must be lined up. If you do that, the rest of the work is easy. So here we go. Let's take a look. I'm actually going to zoom out just so we can see the whole thing a little bit better at this example. The rainfall over a 3-day period was I want to say 3.4, but that's not the proper way to read that number. 3 4/10 inches, 26 hundredths inches, and 3/10 inches. Altogether, how many inches of rain fell during the 3 days? Okay, so going way back to 3rd grade math skills, you really learn those key words in reading story problems or word problems in math. This word right here, altogether, is a super important word. Anytime you see that, they're asking you to add. So please pause this video, give this a try. I haven't shown you any examples yet today, but why don't you just give it a try and see how you do based on that one fact. Line up your decimals, add from there. Unpause your video when you're ready to check your work with mine. Okay, so I have our problem set up. Most importantly, I've lined up my decimals, and a couple things I'm going to note. You'll notice that one of these numbers is longer than the others, and that's going to happen. And it's possible, a common error, what happens is that, people line everything up on the right. My camera's backwards, so I should use this hand. They line everything up on the right here. And when you're working with decimals, it's very possible that it's going to look staggered like this when you line your decimals up. So like I kind of, demonstrated a few times yesterday, and I have many times in the past, anytime you have a blank space like this, it's often helpful to fill that space with a placeholder. And in this case, it's appropriate. Anytime with a decimal number, this will come later in the year, but anytime with a decimal number, it's appropriate to fill that space in with a 0. So let's just go ahead and do that. I'm going to fill these spaces in with zeros. Also, in doing that, it's just a really good skill because it helps everything remain lined up for you. So now we're just going to add like normal. So really, one of the first things that I can do is bring down my decimal. That's not going to move. I can do that first before I do any computation at all. Now I can add. We have 0 plus 6 plus 0. That gives me 6. We have 4 plus 2, which is 6, plus 3 is 9. Ooh, that got kind of big. Sorry, I'm writing with a mouse. And then 3 plus 0 is 3. 3 and, that decimal's kind of in the middle, 3 and 96 hundredths of an inch of rainfall. And so, good mathematicians always stop and ask, does my answer need a label? And this, of course, does need a label. Let's just go back and just double check. I would label it with inches. Over the 3 days, this is how much they got. 3 and 96 hundredths. Let's do one more example together. A gallon is about 3 and 78 hundredths liters. If Margot poured 2 and 3/10 liters of milk from a 1-gallon bottle, how much milk remains in the bottle? Pause this video and unpause when you're ready to check your work with mine. Okay, so I have my problem set up, but I didn't want to do much more work than this for now. without you being on the screen with me. So first things first, I looked for one of those keywords to determine what type of math or what operation I would be using. And my keyword in this case is the word remains. How much milk remains in the bottle? That tells us that we're going to be taking something away and something's going to be left. And in that case, we know we're going to be subtracting. So I used the word remains to determine what operation I was doing. Subtracting is what I'm doing. This right here, this 3 7/8 came from this information right here in the beginning, that a gallon is about 3 7/8 liters. So I have that in place of gallon. It says she poured from a 1 gallon bottle. And then I'm subtracting the 2 3/10 away from there. Again, I'm left with an empty space here. Make sure you don't, butt that number up against to the right side. We're not going to align it on the right side. We line up our decimals. That's what's most important. So now that we have this all set up, I think I'm just going to fill in a 0 here to help keep everything aligned. I'm just going to bring down my decimal. I can do that right away because I know that's not going to move, and I can subtract like normal. So 8 minus 0 is 8. 7 minus 3 is 4. 3 minus 2 is 1. So I have 1 48/100. I need to figure out what my label is. A good, thing to remember is if you're ever working with any type of word or story problem, more than likely you're going to need some type of a label. So I would say they're asking how much milk remains. We're talking in liters here. I'm going to say liters. It's the best handwriting I've got using my mouse. 1 48/100 liters. Thanks so much for watching. Hopefully these were helpful, and have a great day.